disciples, when they asked him the signs of the end of the age, he gave them a list, and then he says, and these are just the beginning.
And I told my brother, I think we are going to die here.
But after what happened this time, I can't go back.
Shattering the city's previous records for snowfall in a single day.
Not to be outdone, record frigid temperatures sent the Midwest into a deep freeze.
I fear for Jerusalem and its people today. I pray for its peace.
Palestinian demonstrations continue over Trump's decision.
At least 20 people have been killed and many more wounded in an apparent suicide attack in Afghanistan's capital city.
The difference for me now is I get to live a life that's open. It is honest and it's full of integrity, and that's what's most important to me.
Three people have been killed and 100 more missing after the tropical storm Tembin hit the southern Philippines on Friday, triggering mudslides and floods. The worst hit was the island of Mindanao, where homes were buried by boulders or washed away by powerful currents. Officials say that more than 68,000 people across the country are now in evacuation centres. But with some areas cut off from communications, officials fear the number of casualties will rise.
When the flood came, this river was turned into a torrent, throwing boulders and trees against the houses in its path. It took more than 100 homes and killed nearly 50 people. Those in the area had been told to leave, but many had heeded the warning too late.
Some of them are trying to evacuate, but the surge was like in 3 to 5 minutes, all the houses were wiped out.
What's left of Mary Lou Eatom's possessions are below the ruins of what used to be her house. She escaped with her children and her brother's family just in time.
We were all crying and the water kept getting stronger. And I told my brother, I think we are going to die here.
They survived, but another brother died. Their temporary home is now the local school. It's also where Rosemarie Sorabilo now lives with her children and 10 other families in the one classroom. She says she had never experienced a flood like it.
There was a flood before, but we didn't evacuate that time. But after what happened this time, I can't go back.
So when the flash flood happened, wash out talaga lahat.
Erie, Pennsylvania received a white Christmas and then some. The city was blanketed in 34 inches of snow on Christmas Day, shattering the city's previous records for snowfall in a single day. According to the National Weather Service, Erie received the highest two-day snowfall total in the entire state of Pennsylvania. The huge amount of snow was caused by the lake effect, which is a weather phenomenon where cold air combines with lake water to create narrow bands of powerful snow. Lake effect snow is expected to continue falling in Erie through Wednesday afternoon.
The snow is still falling as we speak, so much so that this area has been declared an emergency because of the heavy snowfall. In some areas, it's chest deep. A winter blast dumped foot after foot of snow across the Great Lakes.
A lot of snow, just keeps coming, just won't stop.
The city of Erie, Pennsylvania, shattered the state record with over 50 inches. The The nearly 4.5 feet of snow fell in just under 36 hours. The snowpack forced trucks to be dug out. In Ohio, the visibility and hazardous conditions backed up traffic on a portion of Interstate 90, forcing authorities to drop the speed limit from 65 miles per hour to 30 miles per hour. In Kansas City, Missouri, the snow and ice caused many accidents on the highways. In one crash, 4 people were killed. Not to be outdone, record frigid temperatures sent the Midwest into a deep freeze. Parts of Wisconsin experienced minus 20-degree weather, and Minneapolis had a low of -2. But the negative 12-degree wind chill in Aurora, Illinois didn't stop people from shopping after Christmas sales.
We're from around here, so we're pretty used to this. And I go to school downtown, so I'm really used to the wind chill.
And I want to talk about what is going on in the Middle East. And in fact, the prophets were talking about the Middle East. And that's why the eyes of the whole world should be fixed on the Middle East, as what is going on there is surely affecting the whole world.
Well, the U.S. decision to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital has caused outrage around the world.
One of the strongest responses came from the Religious Society of Friends, the Quakers, who called the action morally indefensible.
This action is jeopardizing peace and justice and human rights by making it more difficult to continue with the peace process. We work with human rights observers who are on the ground in East Jerusalem and in the West Bank, and they are already telling us that the situation is more tense.
Cardinal Vincent Nichols, the senior Catholic representative for England and Wales, has said, "I fear for Jerusalem and its people today. I pray for its peace." While the Anglican Church has also stressed the unique nature of Jerusalem.
We're very mindful that we can't be sentimental about Jerusalem, and we have to think about the realities on the ground today, where Jerusalem is a place where Christians, Muslims and Jews live side by side. That's sometimes been a cause of tension. I'd want it to be a cause of hope.
A carol concert in London's Trafalgar Square. But it's also a fundraiser for the Amos Trust, a human rights organisation which supports projects in the occupied Palestinian territories.
Jerusalem is the capital of Palestine, but Jerusalem's meaning is far more than just the capital city. It's the centre of 3 faiths, and it's interwoven with the identity of 3 different people groups. So anything which happens there has these wide-scale ramifications.
Palestinian demonstrations continue over Trump's decision. The status of Jerusalem is one of the thorniest obstacles to an Israeli-Palestinian peace deal. They want East Jerusalem as the capital of a state they wish to establish.
They were arrested a week ago after this video was posted online. It shows 16-year-old Dahed al-Tamimi pushing and hitting an Israeli soldier. The incident reportedly happened after her relative was shot in the face by Israeli forces and critically injured. Dahed appeared on several other videos challenging Israeli soldiers.
Israel says it's in talks with more than 10 countries about backing the United States' decision to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital. Last week, over 100 countries backed a United Nations resolution calling for the US to withdraw its decision. President Donald Trump had threatened to cut off financial aid to countries that had voted in favour of the UN. His warning did appear to have some impact, with 9 countries voting against the resolution. Last week, Guatemalan President Jimmy Morales drew praise from Israel for deciding to relocate the country's embassy to Jerusalem. The Israeli Prime Minister said it was a sign of a changing attitude among the international community. No date has been set for the Guatemalan embassy's move, but it will happen after the United States' relocation, which could take at least 2 years.
دغه انتحاري خپل هدف ته ورسیږي زموږ د مړنیو امنیتي ځواکونو له طریقه د تشخیص کیږي او هغه درول کیږي او آماده باش دي چې فایر پی وکړي خدای ځان ته چاودنه ورکړي چې 2 تنه زموږ امنیتي سرتیري په دې برخه کې شهیدان دي او نور ټول ملکي وګړي 6 نفر موږ شهیدان لرو
At least 20 people have been killed and many more wounded in an apparent suicide attack in Afghanistan's capital city. The bombing took place near the Supreme Court building in Kabul. The explosion apparently targeted the court's employees as they were leaving their offices at the end of a working day. Let's go to Bilal Sarvi in Kabul for more details. Can you update us on the latest, Bilal?
Yes, I was able to speak to Dr. Wahidullah Mayar at the Health Ministry. He said at least 20 people are now confirmed killed and at least 38 others are injured. Some of those injured are in very critical conditions.
An Interior Ministry spokesman said the bomber approached on foot and detonated the device in the car park. This witness says, "I heard a bang and I rushed towards the car park to find my brother who works there. Thank God he survived. However, the blast took place very close to him. Unfortunately, several people were killed and wounded." The injured included at least one child thought to have been in the court's creche. It seems to be the latest in a series of attacks on the judiciary. The last, which killed nearly 40 people close to Parliament a month ago, was claimed by the Taliban, which is fighting to oust foreign forces and bring down the US-backed government.
According to the Japan Times, the organizers of the Tokyo 2020 Olympics plan to use expansive face recognition software at the Games. The software will scan and track the faces of hundreds of thousands of athletes, journalists, and officials. According to sources close to the Olympic officials, the technology won't be used on spectators. The sources said the organizers hope the face recognition is both a faster and more secure way of moving people, issued official ID cards through restricted entrances. In addition, the software will be used to catch those using false credentials.
The U.S. has imposed sanctions against 2 North Korean scientists known for their role in the country's missile program. Kim Jong-sik and Ri Pyong-choi are thought to be senior figures in North Korean leaders Kim Jong-un's ballistic missile development team. The sanctions are the latest move in a pressure campaign by the U.S. to denuclearize the Korean peninsula.
North Korea described the latest UN sanctions against it as an act of war on Sunday, saying it was tantamount to a complete economic blockade. In a statement, the country's foreign ministry threatened to punish those who supported the measure. The UN Security Council unanimously imposed new sanctions on Pyongyang on Friday. Measures seek to limit the country's access to refined petroleum products and crude oil, with a near 90% ban. The UN also wants to curb earnings from abroad, with a demand for the repatriation of North Korean workers within 24 months. The US drafted resolution, supported by longtime Pyongyang allies Russia and China, commits the Security Council to further sanctions if there's another nuclear test or ballistic missile launch. It denies its nuclear program is in contradiction of international law, but rather a self-defensive deterrence. The latest statement described Washington as getting, quote, more and more frenzied in moves to impose the harshest ever sanctions and pressure on the country.
And a local priest says he is finally living his truest life, announcing he is gay.
I will tell you today, I just feel liberated.
This priest says coming out will only help him be a better Catholic priest.
Sean Gallagher is outside the priest's church, where his parishioners accepted that announcement with open arms.
Yeah, Shannon and Steve, the parishioners here at St. Bernadette's initially were pretty shocked by the announcement, only because it was unexpected. But Father Gregory Greiton says ever since then, he's been welcomed with open arms.
Well, I feel like a new person.
Today is a lot different for Father Gregory Greiton. He spent a quarter century as a priest, but never like this. He can finally be at peace, letting everyone know he's gay.
The difference for me now is I get to live a life that's open. It is honest and it's full of integrity. And that's what's most important to me.
Father Greiton wrote an article in the National Catholic Reporter detailing his journey.
Whether you're a gay priest or a straight priest, it makes no difference.
But he was tired of living a lie. He's no longer afraid of who would find out and what they'd think.
I've owned the truth for many years, and it's just been very much a part of who I am and part of my life. So, like I say, even though people didn't know that, it's always been a part of who I am.
And the Archdiocese agrees, saying in part, as the Church teaches, those with same-sex attraction must be treated with understanding and compassion. Father Greg's own story reminds each of us of God's call to continue to grow in understanding and to live holy, chaste lives. And Father Greg hopes his story can inspire others.
We need other good role models. We need healthy role models to be out there, to be able to say, you know, there's nothing wrong with being gay.
And Father Greg says that we would be naive to think that he is the only gay priest out there. He hopes that they come out when they're ready.